Assalamuallaikum warrahmatullahi wabbarakatuh. Hi everyone, let me introduce myself. My name Adlin Filza Syazwina, students from STIU Darul Hikmah. This video presentation about the importance of learning English and introduction to the science of Tafsir. The lecturer Ustadz Zulkarnain Muhammad Ali, M.Si. So that's all the introduction. Let's move on to the following discussion. Let's go.
The table of content. 1. The importance of learning English language for Islamic scholar. 2. An introduction to the science of Tafsir. 3. The sources of Tafsir al-Quran. For the famous person in Tafsir al-Quran.
Before starting the discussion, do you know the importance of learning English? If not, let's learn together.
English is the language of science, of aviation, computers, diplomacy, and tourism. Knowing English increases your chances of getting a good job in a multinational company within your home country or for finding work abroad. It's also the language of international communication, the media, and the internet. So learning English is important for socializing and entertainment as well as work. Let's look at the top 5 reasons why studying English is so important. 1. English is the language of international communication. English may not be the most spoken language in the world, but it is the official language of 53 countries and spoken by around 400 million people across the globe. Being able to speak English is not just about being able to communicate with native English speakers. It is the most common second language in the world. If you want to speak to someone from another country, then the chances are that you will both be speaking English to do this. 2. English is the language of business. English is the dominant business language, and it has become almost a necessity for people to speak English if they are to enter a global workforce. Research from all over the world shows that cross-border business communication is most often conducted in English, and many international companies expect employees to be fluent in English. Global companies such as Airbus, Daimler Chrysler, Fast Retailing, Nokia, Renault, Samsung, etc.
3. Speaking English gives you access to a world of entertainment. Many of the world's top films, books, and music are published and produced in English. Therefore, by learning English you will have access to a great wealth of entertainment and will be able to have a greater cultural understanding. If you speak English, you won't need to rely on translations and subtitles anymore to enjoy your favorite books, songs, films, and TV shows. Watching movies and television programs in the English language is also a great and fun way to learn it.
4. Learning English gives you access to more of the internet. According to a report by Education First, English is the language of the internet. An estimated 565 million people use the internet every day, and an estimated 52% of the world's most visited websites are displayed in the English language. Learning English is important as it gives you access to over half the content on the internet. 5. English makes it easier to travel. As highlighted before, since English is spoken as a first language in 53 countries and as a second language in over 118 countries, learning the language makes it much easier to travel anywhere. Indeed, airport announcements, train timetables, emergency information and street signs are often available in English, including in countries where the native language uses a different type of alphabet. It goes without saying that, when traveling to a country where you don't speak the language, you are practically guaranteed to find someone who understands at least some English. The conclusion. So learning English is important for continuing your education abroad, enhance career, developing business. Speaking English gives you access to a world of entertainment, learning English gives you access to more of the internet, and English makes it easier to travel. In other words, it means that learning English is important for everyone so that we can compete in this modern era.
An introduction to the science of Tafsir.
The literal meaning of tafsir in the Arabic language is to open or to explain, interpret or comment. Technically, the science of tafsir is a branch of knowledge in which the meanings of the Quran are explained and its injunctions and wisdoms are described openly and clearly, al-Baran. Addressing the Holy Prophet, the glorious Quran says, "We revealed the Quran to you so that you explain to the people what has been sent down to them."
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بالبينات والزبر وأنزلنا إليك الذكر لتبين للناس ما نزل إليهم ولعلهم يتفكرون.
Meaning, information, miracles, and books. And we have sent down to you the Quran, that you may explain to mankind what has been revealed to them and that they may think. Qur, and Surah. And Nail Ayah 44. Keeping this in view, it should be noted that the Holy Prophet not only taught the words of the Quran to the people but he also explained them in detail. This is why, on some occasions, the revered companions had to devote years at a time to learning a single surah. In what ways did the Muslim Ummah protect and preserve the science? What extreme hardships did they face in its pursuit? How many stages did this struggle encompass? All this has a long and fascinating history which cannot be taken up in the present context. The intention here is to mention briefly the sources of Quranic exegesis and how these sources have been utilized in explaining the noble Quran by the countless books on tafsir available in countless languages. The sources of Quranic exegesis are 6. 1. Al-Quran. The first source of the knowledge of tafsir is the Quran itself. Accordingly, it happens very often that a certain point which is brief and requires explanation is invariably clarified by some other verse of the Quran. For instance, in the following verse of Surat al-Fatiha, "Guide us on the straight path, the path of those on whom you have blessed," it is not clear here as to who are those whom Allah Almighty has blessed. But, in another verse, they have been identified very clearly, where it is said, "So, these are the people whom Allah Almighty has blessed, being the prophets, their true followers, the martyrs, in the way of Allah, and the righteous."
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فأولئك مع الذين أنعم الله عليهم من النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وحسن أولئك رفيقا.
Meaning, and whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger, they will be with those who are bestowed with favors by Allah, namely, the prophets, the Shadiqain, the martyrs, and the pious. And they are the best friends. Quran Surah An-Nisa Ayah 69. Therefore, when commentators explain a Quranic verse, they first check to see if a tafsir of the verse is already existent elsewhere in the Quran itself. If such an explanatory verse exists, they elect to adhere to it as their first choice. 2. Hadiths. The words and the deeds of the Holy Prophet, upon him blessings and peace, are called hadith, and as it has been stated earlier, Allah Almighty sent him with the Quran solely for the purpose of explaining, openly and explicitly, the correct